Death is the great and ultimate unknown. Anyone who's willing to talk about the fact that they're dying is going to usually live better and die better, period.
That's like a super interesting case study of like what's different about the way they live from that moment to the end versus how they've lived their whole life. I just want to be around this depth of love.
Yeah.
Welcome to Showing Up with AndyGrammer, the corner of the internet where we show up for what matters most. Today's guest is Julie McFadden, better known as Hospice Nurse Julie. She is the best-selling author of Nothing to Fear, and she educates millions online about what actually happens when people die. Let's get into it. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/showingup. Aura Frames. Get $25 off the Carver mat frame at auraframes.com. Promo code showingup.
Nurse Julie, thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate you being here. This is the first time that we're meeting, but I have read your book and I see a lot of your posts on social media, and I'm just like very interested to chat with you today. I want to start with a story from my life and then get into it, which was that my mom got sick with cancer when I was 24. She passed when I was 25. Happened pretty quick. And there was a moment where it was pretty clear that it was going to end. And so we had to start shifting into that mode, which I fought because I'd never been through anything like that. And my mom asked me, my dad, and my brother we asked her if she wanted anything. And she said she just wanted us to sit on the bed and sing with her. And I was young enough, I'm 24, without the gravitas of like, you might pass away soon, I probably, if it was just a normal day, I would have teased her. No doubt about it. I would have like joked about it. There's no way we're all getting on the bed and singing with you. Even though we're a close family, that's just like, we wouldn't have done it. But in that moment, you go like, of course, whatever you want. And we all got onto her bed and we sang for like an hour together. It's one of my favorite memories of my whole life. What you speak so eloquently about is that we're afraid of death. And especially of the end, the dying part. I, in my life, have experienced a lot of beauty and joy and sincerity around that. Do you want to speak a little bit to like, what's the resistance here? Why are we so like, don't talk about it, don't go near it, don't even address it?
Well, death is the great and ultimate unknown.
Yeah.
So I think even though like I wrote a book and labeled it Nothing to Fear, I always say it's really normal to fear. So to me, it's not about trying to stop fearing it, because I think that actually creates more fear, like more resistance.
Sure.
To me, it's more like, okay, well, we know it's normal to fear this. It's the great unknown. It's like the ultimate thing. You don't want to lose your loved one. We all have people we don't want to die, right? Or we don't want to die because we don't want to miss our loved ones. And to me, it's more about, okay, we know we're going to fear it. We know we don't really want this to happen, but let's talk about it anyway. Let's discuss this scary thing, because the people who I've seen that are willing to do that live better and die better. Like people on hospice are not dead yet. Like they're dying, they're there for a reason, right? But they're not dead yet. And the patients and the families that I've seen that were willing to talk about really quote unquote scary things like dying, like coming to the reality of like, I'm going to die and it's probably going to be soon. They just seem to live freer and die more peacefully. And I only would know that because I just watched it over and over and over again. And over the years, I started being like, people need to know this. People need to know that, yes, death can be really scary. Not that it needs to be, but it usually is, because people don't experience it all the time. And it's sad and feelings come up and feelings are scary and all the things, right? But the more you talk about it, usually the better, the quote unquote better it goes. Like the fact that you were able to ask your mom, or someone asked your mom what she wanted, and she was able to say like, sing with me. And how you have like one of the best moments of your life.
Oh my God.
But imagine if like you guys couldn't have done that, and there's so many people that are unwilling to go there because it's too sad. It's too hard. They think it's going to break them. They think it's going to be too much, and they lose out. They lose out on those moments.
And just for everybody, if they don't know who you are, tell us why give us a little history about how much you've been around this.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a hospice nurse. So I've been a nurse I did the math yesterday because I keep kind of screwing this up. But so I've been a nurse for around 18 years, maybe 19. I guess I didn't do the math that great yesterday. And I was an ICU nurse for like 7 or 8 of those years. And now I've been a hospice nurse for around 10.
Wow.
And I became a hospice nurse because I was an ICU nurse. ICU, we're trying to keep people alive at all costs. I was seeing how that was like not the greatest at times. And I thought, man, people are going to die no matter what sometimes. And I feel like we need to do this a better way, a different way. We need to be more honest, more upfront sooner so people can be at home and die differently, not in a hospital bed. It's such a tricky... I know. It's there's
so
a fine
tricky.
line.
I have a song called "Don't Give Up on Me," and I know a lot of people use it immediately when they hear that someone's sick. And so I've seen and been around. I've sang at hospitals. The desire to get better. Yeah. That's true and very real. And then also, we're all going to die. Mm-hmm. How do you help people figure out? Or do you think it's more clear than we acknowledge?
It's more clear than we acknowledge. For sure. Especially in healthcare. I really feel like we as a healthcare system need to do better at being more honest.
And there are outlier stories where, that's what we hear the most about in culture is like, all the doctors said this was going to happen and I fought through and I got out.
Yes.
And I cheated death.
Yes.
This time.
And I love those stories.
They're the best.
Yeah. I am all for that. I want that to happen for everyone I meet.
Are there specific markers, or you just gain an intuition of how if you're a doctor in our healthcare system, you are trying to you're trying to encourage them. That's an interesting line.
I know. So there are certain
in
markers.
your position, did you have to do it? Or is it the doctor that tells them?
In the ICU, I was the one who did it. Not because like I had to or it was my job. I just saw, after getting some confidence after being there for a couple of years, you can see that when someone who's not going to get better, or like, okay, we are actually doing a disservice to this person by trying to keep them alive, period. And I can say that in round. So what I started doing during rounds was speaking up and saying, can we have a family meeting to discuss the patient's future? And to my surprise, everyone was like, yes. Like no one really fought it, right?
On the healthcare side and on the family side.
Yeah. Oh, and then we'd have a family meeting and we'd all be honest about what was really happening. And then they would decide to turn off machines and let the loved one die.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't understand. They didn't have everyone in one room saying, it's not looking.
This is where we're at.
Yeah, this is where we're at. This is not going to, he's not going to get better. He's likely, even if he does, he still has terminal cancer, which we never addressed, which is, there's just so many things you have to look at, right? And the person who doesn't work in healthcare and it's their loved one, they are just going off the little bits of information they get from each doctor coming in.
Yeah.
The kidney doctor, the lung doctor, the heart doctor.
Now, a quick moment from our sponsors and we'll jump right back in. I've been thinking a lot lately about how heavy money can feel. It's not just numbers, but what it means. Growing up, I definitely picked up some quiet beliefs like if things weren't working financially, it meant I was messing something up, like I should have figured it out by now. And even now, there are moments touring, building businesses, raising a family where it can feel like a lot. And that stress doesn't just stay in your bank account, it shows up in your sleep, in your relationships, in how you talk to yourself. I think what I'm learning is that struggling with money doesn't mean you've failed. It just means you're human navigating something real. And therapy can be a place to actually unpack that. Not to get financial advice, but to understand the pressure, the fear, the stories we carry, and to build a healthier relationship with it all. BetterHelp makes that process easier to step into. They've got over 30,000 licensed therapists, and they match you based on what you're looking for. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch anytime. When life feels overwhelming, therapy can help. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/showingup. That's betterhelp.com/showingup. All right, back to the show.
And so what's the biggest shift that you see once everybody understands?
Once they understand that their loved one is likely not going to get better, they don't want their loved one to live the way they're living in the ICU. Which don't get me wrong, the ICU is, is an
amazing.
amazing place, and
Of
it
course.
saves a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, we just do too much. We do too much. So the shift is they realize that, and it's hard, but they don't want their loved one to live like that.
Yeah.
And they let them go.
And the people often, that's the people around them, but the person that actually is the one that's dying, how does that?
Well, they are usually unconscious, and that's what people don't understand either. They're not usually even there.
Totally.
That's the part.
I remember.
They're usually unconscious.
I remember when my mom went down, there was a lot of discussion, and she had made it very clear to us that she didn't want to do the route that you're speaking of. And so we went to hospice, and it was really hard and beautiful and strange.
Yeah.
And, but then there was a lot of space and time to, she was a mentor to a lot of women, and they all got to come in and say goodbye. So sweet. We actually played games together in hospice. She got to eat like sherbet that she wanted. We played this game where she would say an animal. My family is all very musical, and we are horrific at drawing. Like, it's terrible. And so she would call out.
You can't have it all,
You
Andy.
can't have it all.
Okay.
So we're in this hospital room. My mom is slowly passing, still somewhat cognitively there. Her voice is getting weaker and weaker. And she's like, she's going like, "Panda." And then me, my dad, and my brother, we like jump up, and we put a whiteboard up, and we're like, "Terrible pandas." And she's going like, "That's the worst thing I've ever seen. That's awful. That's the least worst." And then she would say another animal. And it was really sweet. And that process of going through that forced me to reckon with the thing that you're fighting for.
Yeah.
Which is a very delicate, difficult conversation.
Yeah. Well, like what you were saying before, like, are we just, I can't remember how you worded it, but it was like, are we just not being honest enough? So I think there are certain diseases in our world right now, right? Certain cancers, certain diagnoses that you can get that are, at least as of right now, terminal, right? And what I think needs to happen is the doctors and the nurses that are dealing with that in day out, they do kind of know the trajectory of that disease usually, right? So I think there needs to be a little more just education, a little more honesty around what their disease progression will look like, what they can do for that disease, how long they're expected to live if the treatment like bodes well for them or they do well with it. And I just think there are not as like upfront as they can be, not because they're being sneaky, but because they don't want to they want to give people hope. I get it. But I do think people need to know what they're working with, because I think if we said to somebody, if you know you're going to die in 6 months, how do you want to live? And I think if people on that,
because you've been around so many of these people, how do they handle that? On average, out of 10.
If it's the first time hearing it, that's the thing is I'm not the first person who's saying this to them, so, but by the time I get to them, 9 times out of 10 people are relieved. Someone's willing to be honest with them, and someone's willing to say something like, you're going to die, and here's how it's likely going to look. Here's how we're going to help you. Of course, I don't say it as bluntly as that. I do. I'm a little sweeter, I suppose. But by the time I'm there, people are usually relieved that someone's willing to be like, have a real conversation about their end of life. Yeah. Because usually it's like tiptoed around, not really talked about. Here's the things we can do, which I understand, right? Yeah. But by the time I'm there, they're usually relieved that I'm willing to go like, hey, listen, I've seen someone who has died from your disease like 100 times, and this is what it's going to likely be like.
And that's like a super interesting case study of like what's different about the way they live from that moment to the end versus how they've lived their whole life. Have you seen connections?
Anyone who's willing to talk about the fact that they're dying is going to usually live better and die better, period. Like just in the sense of being freer, being more open, usually having a more peaceful death, like less terminal agitation. This is all anecdotal, by the way. I have like no actual research.
Sure.
It's just like from what I've
but you've
witnessed,
spent a lot
right?
of time. Yeah.
And of course, there's certain diseases that are like harder than others that like no matter how open you are, symptoms are symptoms. You can't always help that. But generally speaking, people who are willing to say the truth, even if the truth is like, I'm afraid of death and I'm angry and I don't want to die, that I'm always like, congratulations.
You're here. You made it.
Yes. Because the fact that you're even willing to say, that's so scary and hard to say. I think it's easier to lie and go, you know what? I'm okay with this. I have faith. I have,
Yeah.
and if that's the truth, that's great. But if that's not the truth and you're just saying that because like, that's what you're supposed to say, or that's what's comforting to you, it's actually better to say something more truthful.
Just
even
truthful.
if that's like, I'm angry. I'm so mad. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I don't want to die.
I've sang a lot about my mother and grief, and so when friends have family members that are sick or something, I get calls a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I try to say is like, it's very rich.
Mm-hmm.
I think both doors of life are extremely like rich, and there's a sweetness that's almost like sacred about both of them, whether it's being born or passing away. Both doors are like, don't miss the unbelievable sweetness and beauty, which I think you can't, unless you're being honest about it. Do you have any special stories of the richness? Have you been around it?
Yes. Oh, that's all. So people always think being a hospice nurse is depressing, and it's really anything but depressing because my grief isn't there. It's not my loved one.
Sure.
Right. I'm just
It's almost like an honor to
witnessing-
be a part of it.
Yes. I'm just witnessing love. Like I'm like witnessing love in action. It's like the greatest gift of my life to witness these things. And I always liken watching someone take their last breath to watching a birth. Like whenever I watch a birth or see a newborn baby, I'm always like, oh, like it's so hard not to weep and cry, one, at the birth, and two, just witnessing this like new little baby that's here now.
Yeah.
And it feels like that. It's the same feeling
Yeah.
when I watch someone take their last breath. It's like they're both so close to this, like, I mean, of course, to me, I do think we come from somewhere and we go somewhere, and that's good. And to me, I feel like this veil is lifted and I can kind of feel that place again. And even seeing people cry because their loved one's gone, it still feels beautiful. Like I can think of a time when I was a nurse just doing a quick follow-up for a patient, meaning like they just needed a quick visit. I wasn't their nurse. But their nurse needed help with visits, so I made a visit. And the patient was not actively dying, which is like the last phase of life. Or so I thought, right?
Yeah.
So I'm there. He seems great. The family's great. His wife's there. His kids there. Grandkids are probably like 5, 6, 7-ish, right? And while I'm there, for some reason, because death can be surprising sometimes, he flips the switch and is actively dying. Like there's not really a reason why. He just suddenly kind of gets a little off, goes unconscious, starts breathing differently. And I'm sitting there like, uh-oh, this guy's gonna die. And I don't know if they know this. This is like a sudden shift.
Okay.
So I tell the family, I think something's gone on. Like he seems like, there's been a shift here. I feel like he might actually die and die soon. And I just want to make sure you guys know that. I'm going to stay here for a little bit, see how, things go down. And they had every right to be like, what? Because it was a very sudden thing. And they didn't, though. The wife got in bed right next to him, got in bed with him. The kids all got around him. The grandkids were there. And I let them be. I left the room and sat in the kitchen. And I could hear them talking. I don't know, it makes me cry every time. I hear them talking to him. And I hear the wife go, you were so easy to love. I know. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving me. You were so easy to love. And the kids were like, we love you, Dad. We love you, Dad. They didn't make the grandkids go away, and it's like that kind of stuff that I get to witness. It's like, it's so sad, but I'm mostly crying because it was so beautiful.
It's really so delicate for me because because of what I do with music, and I have different people that love my music in different places. I just want to be around this depth of love.
Yeah.
What you're saying, you're like, I'll give you your space. I'm going to go to the thing, and I don't want to be manipulative. I don't want to take from you at all.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to be like, I just am drawn to like, what's the deepest love that we have here on earth? And both doors seem to be that.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to be, I had a fan in Minneapolis who, her husband was passing, and you know more than I do, but sometimes you can actually go home Is that correct? Can
To
hospice be at home?
Oh yeah, that's what I mostly do. I do
Yeah.
a home hospice. Yeah.
And so she invited me to come sing because I was his favorite singer.
Oh my gosh.
And me and my band just acoustically brought stuff and sat with him and sang. And then he passed away the next day. And then the narrative's like, oh, Andy's like such a good guy. And I'm like, you don't get it. I'm so honored and blessed to any time that there is that level of deep, pure love. I just want to be around it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really good to talk about because I don't necessarily think when people hear that someone's passing that this is what they think of.
I know.
It can be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't even talk without just like sobbing because it's so pure and so sweet and so deep, you know?
I do know. That is why I love what I do. It's not really sad to me. And it's always a little uncomfortable when I tell anyone what I do because it's always like, ooh, you know, the reaction is like, ooh, or like, you must be an angel. You know, it's like, well, first off, girl, you have no idea. I am hardly that.
Yes.
If you only knew, right? But no, I mean, I'm the grateful one. I'm the one who gets to be with these families at this amazing, that's a weird word to use, but
It is.
this certain time, right?
It can be amazing. It doesn't
can
always have to be, but
amazing.
it's there to be taken if you show up for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always think that's why I turned to social media, right, to start educating people online about death and dying, because I felt like education decreases fear, and I feel like through education you can turn something that you could make into something really scary, really traumatizing, into something really sacred. Because a lot of times what people experience when they don't know what when they don't know what they're seeing, which is a person dying in front of them, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know what's going on and what's happening and why it's happening, it can feel really scary. It can feel like they're suffering. It can feel traumatizing to them. And it's really all because they didn't understand what they were seeing. And then on top of that, it's their mom or their dad. And they're like, why didn't someone do something? They were doing this. They were breathing like this. Why didn't anyone help us? Why were we alone? So I feel like hopefully through education, people can learn so they don't have to have those experiences, and it could be a sacred time.
It's one of those things that's kind of tough. I would imagine anyone that's listening right now is like, this is really beautiful, but no one in my life is passing. So is there anything that they should be doing, thinking about it, talking about it? It's just hearing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, people always ask, like, I think my channels where I educate are for anyone. Like, because everyone's going to die. Everyone's going to experience
This is
it.
true.
And most of the comments I get are, I wish I would have known this was around when my mom was dying or my dad was dying.
Yeah.
Like, this would have helped me months ago. So I just think everyone should prepare themselves.
You know, the way that me and my wife, we met in music school, and we were just friends. And then about 4 years later, she happened to get a job caring for someone who was passing. The son couldn't be there, and so he was reaching out, and her name came up. And so she spent like the last 3 weeks with this person. And my mom had just passed, and the way that I was grieving it was writing songs for people that were going through hard times. And I would call, my mom's name is Kathy, so I called them AndyGrams. And I just did little songs in her name to whoever needed songs. And so my wife, who's with this person in the hospital, was like, we got to write this guy a AndyGram. Like, we got to do it. And she came over, and he was like 85, and he was still flirting with her. And so we wrote a song called The Last Romance for this sweet guy. But what ended up happening, and then we fell in love deeply from that moment. We were just like friends, and then doing that together was like, I think you're my person. But when we went to go sing it, the family was there, and they were not being honest about the situation.
Yeah.
And it was pretty awkward. Have you seen any other creative ways? Is it basically just a deep, pure kind of love that you feel? Or is your job to set the stage and then kind of leave the room?
My job is to set the stage, and then the team. We have a team of people. There's nurse, doctor, social worker, chaplain, music therapist.
Music,
I mean,
cool.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Not all the time, but
Yeah.
sometimes. I think everyone usually has their own role that they've probably played their whole life, right? There's like the one who's like the main person who's really there and like doing all like the dirty work, right?
Yep.
And there's like the other ones coming in like
Lightening
making
the mood.
food. Yeah, lightening the mood, like bringing the party. So, and not every, I mean, and let's just be real, not every family is loving and good at
Sure.
this. You know, there are a lot of families who, you know, if you've been dysfunctional the whole time, like this will stress you out and the dysfunction will rise.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
So it always depends on the family, but generally speaking, I feel like people end up taking roles, and there's what I love is when I go to a house, then it's like full of people. And like, I don't know who everyone is and like, what's everyone doing, but there's clearly people cooking. There's clearly people on the porch having fun. There's clearly people in the room sitting vigil. There's kids running around. Like that's I'm like, oh,
That's the dream.
I don't know everything that's happening here, but I want this.
This is unbelievable.
I like this. Yeah.
Yeah, going back to when people ask me like, how is it for you, or someone in my life is passing, if anybody listening can make the shift from like, oh my God, that's so scary, to don't miss it.
Yeah.
Like what this is like one of the sweetest, purest moments of life.
If we
if we can shift into
Yes.
that space, then everything's like a possibility of how do we spend these last moments together.
Because it's inevitable. Like, generally speaking, death is inevitable. And I feel like if you're lucky enough to kind of have the time to know it's happening,
Yeah.
not everyone does. There's people who have tragic accidents and it's sudden and you don't know they're dying. And then, and we can still make that special as well, I guess. But that's not my expertise, right? My expertise is like when you know it's coming, you just don't know when. I feel like that's time given to you. That's time where you can choose how this is spent, and to the best of your ability. You can't force the person dying to also be like ready to do that.
So in your book, you talk about grief and this thing about anticipatory grief. What is this? Tell me.
Anticipatory grief happens prior to your loved one dying, and I would dare say everyone would experience anticipatory grief if their loved one's dying on hospice, because it's the like death before the death, right? Mm-hmm. I often see it with people with like Alzheimer's disease, because they're losing their loved one like over and over and over with each new phase of that disease. It's
That's
like
a different type, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a new wave of grief, a new wave, because you're losing your loved one like multiple times over. So I think it's just important to know that anticipatory grief is a thing. You feel it before your loved one's gone, because you are already in this mode of like, they're going to be gone. You know, you start grieving, or you grieve who they were and how they're different now and how they sleep all the time, or they're not as funny because they don't have energy, or they're more irritable, or whatever it is, right? And I think it's just, one, it's important to know it exists so you can even go, oh, that's kind of what I'm experiencing. I think awareness is the key to everything.
Yeah.
You know, being able to pause and be aware of like why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and what are you even feeling.
Yeah.
So that's the first step, just awareness, knowing it exists, and knowing if your loved one is on hospice. This is like a practical thing. If your loved one is on hospice, you have resources out there. It's not just for your loved one. The social worker is there for you too. The chaplain's there for you too. And the chaplain is not a religious person. They will meet you where you're at, even if you don't believe in anything. They're just there to support you.
Yeah.
There's bereavement services, you know, get help if you need it, talk about it. You're not alone, and you're very normal.
Very normal.
Very normal. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm fascinated by the deathbed phenomena stuff.
Tell me about it.
Just like, you tell me, what are the most normal things that occur?
The most
that
normal?
seem not completely not normal. I'm sure there's tons of skepticism. Is there science around it?
Yes, there's science around it.
So explain what it is first.
Okay, so first off, I was an ICU nurse. I am like a science girly, right?
Yes.
ICU science girly. Like, there's not one part of me that was like, these things are real, and I didn't know anything about them. So when I became a hospice nurse, it was like a big, huge learning curve, because I was so used to like just being an ICU nurse, where you did all these different things, and no matter
protocols,
what,
things make sense. This is what we do. Data, yes.
So there's this little blue book called Gone From My Sight that most hospices use to like give to families to educate about end of life. And one of the things that says in there is that
Gone
like,
From My Sight?
Yeah, Gone From My Sight. It's amazing. By Barbara Carnes.
It's good.
It's worth the read.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay,
it's a
great.
perfect book.
Is it spiritual?
No, it's like a 13-page pamphlet that explains what death looks like. It's perfect.
Cool.
Everyone should have it. Barbara Carnes, we love you. She's like the queen of hospice.
Got it.
But in this book, it says, around a few weeks before death, your loved one may start seeing the unseen and seeing dead relatives, dead loved ones, pets that have died. And I remember reading this and being like, why the hell? Like, how can we be giving this to patients? Like, this is bullshit. You know,
like witchcraft.
Yeah, like, how can we be giving this to people? This is ridiculous. And people who were teaching me were like, well, I don't know. It happens though. It's called visioning. It happens a few weeks before people die. Like, it happens all the time. We have to tell people because otherwise they're really concerned that their loved ones like seeing things.
Yeah.
So that was my first reaction, is my point. But then as I was a hospice nurse, you just see over and over again that this is like a thing that happens. That's people will start seeing dead relatives, dead loved ones, old pets that have died. And it's not right before they die. Sometimes it is, but usually not. It's usually a few weeks before they die. And they're usually pretty alert and oriented. And they're usually just as surprised as you are that they're like seeing dead people, you know?
Unbelievable.
So that's one of the things.
Okay.
But the one that happens the most is called terminal lucidity, which is like the rally or the surge, where someone looks like they're very close to death and then suddenly they have a really, really good day, or they almost look like they're getting better, like a big burst of energy. And that's amazing, except they usually die quickly after. So if you're not ready, if you don't know these things happen, you could be like, it's a miracle. They're better. They're here. They're back. And then they die shortly after. Mm-hmm. And there's still several others that go on, but those are like the main two. And we don't really know why they happen. We just know that they do, and they do a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Have you been in the room when they happen?
Yes.
And people say like, what, do you have it?
I mean,
that's crazy and
that
so
is crazy.
interesting.
I mean, it happens so often that like, honestly, it's hard to pin down like one time. But one time I can think of it because I actually got called to a house, and because a patient was having hallucinations and the family was concerned.
Okay.
So I get there, and the patient seems like totally lucid and normal to me, and we were just talking about everyday stuff. No, of course, like no one's saying anything about the hallucinations anymore. And I'm kind of thinking like, what's going on here? I got called to the house because this patient was hallucinating, but okay. So the family goes, okay, Dad, we'll be right back. Like, we're going to go do something. And I'm in the room just with him, and he grabs my arm and he's like, hey, my family thinks I'm crazy.
Oh, really?
Because I told them that I saw my parents last night. My parents came to me and they said, it's not my time yet. I'm not going yet, but they're going to come to get me soon, and not to worry. And he was like, and I was like, and how do you feel about that? And he goes, better now. I feel good. I feel comforted by it. I'm glad they did, but I don't know why, you know? And I just said, listen, it's really normal. It's called visioning. As long as you're comfortable with it, just go with it, and I'll talk to your family, right? And he was like, okay. So then I leave and I go to talk to the family, but before I could, they grabbed me. Hey, we didn't want to say anything around him, but he's been seeing his parents have died like 20 years ago. Like, what's going on? We need to start medication. Like, why is he hallucinating? And then I just said, listen, it's really normal. It's called visioning. I just said the same thing to them. As long as he's comforted by it, go with it. You know, it's not, a lot of people think, oh, it's because they have low oxygen or they're on so many meds. Most of the time they don't have low oxygen. They're not even on oxygen, nor do they need it. And a lot of times they're not taking either any medications or medications to like really make them so loopy they are seeing things. You know, as a nurse, we are clinicians. I know what to look for if someone has delirium or hallucinations or agitation. It looks very different. Visioning looks so different than anything I've ever seen. I've seen ICU psychosis. I've seen people who are hallucinating. This is not that. This is like me and you sitting here and them saying, I see.
So you think, so afterlife, what's up? What, just from your seat, what do you think?
Well, I never try to push my afterlife thoughts and opinions on my patients or anyone. So just period. 100%. But I do think there's an afterlife. I think it's good. Yeah. And I think everyone goes there. I always say, you know, I've always felt this. So it hasn't just been because I'm a hospice nurse, but I've always felt like, I always say, you know, I've been homesick for a place that I can't quite remember. it's like this feeling of like homesickness, you
Yeah.
know, but I don't know why or where. And whenever I'm close to someone dying or someone being born, I feel like I feel that place again, you know, and I feel like we're all going to go back there, and it's going to feel more like home than here ever could.
Yeah.
And when we get there, it's going to be like, oh, thank God I'm back. Like, I think we're going back to, not going to a new place.
New place.
Yeah.
One of the things that in your book that I really liked, which was just the idea that your body actually knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
I remember my second daughter was a home birth, and watching my wife's body, it was like less like she was doing it and more that she was like holding on as the train of birth was coming.
Ooh, yeah.
And I could feel like the power in the room. I mean, my wife's a hero. It's unbelievable.
Now, a quick moment from our sponsors, and we'll jump right back in. It's like my wife laughing in the kitchen while the kids are chaos behind her, or a random photo I took that she didn't even know I was taking, just being her. Fully present, loving, holding everything together in a way that almost feels invisible until you stop and look at it. And I've realized those moments are the ones I never want to lose. They deserve more than just living buried in my camera roll or somewhere in my brain. That's why I love Aura Frames. It lets you actually live with those memories. You can preload photos before it even arrives, add to it anytime, and it just becomes this living, breathing reminder of the people that you love most. It's simple, but it hits deep. Especially with Mother's Day coming up, it's such a meaningful way to say, I see you, I see all of it. Make Mother's Day special with Aura Frames. Named #1 by Wirecutter, you can save on the gifts moms love by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, listeners can get $25 off their best-selling Carver mat frame with code SHOWINGUP. That's auraframes.com, promo code SHOWINGUP. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, back to the show.
There's a process that's happening that neither of us are there's a control that feels bigger.
Yes, I always think whenever.
And that, when I read that in your book, was like, oh yeah, that is. And to your point that when you can't even talk about it, it's just a big black box. No one wants to talk about it, even though it's going to happen to every single one of us.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even if you're someone who doesn't believe in an afterlife, doesn't believe that there's something greater out there, right? I still took comfort in, like, the first and most important thing that I take comfort in, that I learned as a hospice nurse, is that our bodies are built to die biologically. So even if you don't believe in something greater, right? You don't believe that when you die, that's what you believe. I still take comfort in the fact that our bodies are biologically built to die. Just like a woman's body can give birth, and a baby can handle being birthed.
Yes.
Usually, right? The same thing for a human body. Our bodies have built-in mechanisms to help us die, to help us have more peace. But the body will make you sleep more, eat and drink less. Always. And you just sleep. Don't eat, don't drink, don't eat, don't drink. And your hunger and thirst mechanism kicks in, like, turns off. So because your body knows the drier you are, the more dehydrated you are at the end of life, not if you're like a healthy person stuck in a desert, you feel better. You actually go into ketosis. Your body releases endorphins, makes you feel euphoric. That all naturally happens. And a lot of times what we do as healthcare workers is we stop that from happening, right? And we create more problems. But the more we just sort of hands off and let the body do its thing, the body really knows how to die. I mean, I saw it time and time and time again. And that was the first thing I noticed as a hospice nurse that gave me comfort. That, like, wow, our bodies know what to do. A lot of times as a hospice nurse, I don't have to do anything.
It's crazy that even if I say, like, we're supposed to die, that sounds like a crazy statement.
I know we're supposed to die.
We're supposed to die.
We're supposed to die.
It doesn't feel like we all live like that.
No, I don't even saying it like that
feels horrible.
We're supposed to die. I'm like, wait, what?
Right?
Yeah. I always say we have, like, the way I word it when I do my admissions is we all have an end of life journey, which is true. We all do. And right now, you, like, all of us, we know we're going to have one. We just don't know what it is. And right now, you kind of know yours, right? You're on your end of life journey.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know exactly when. And how we're going to help you is by explaining what it's most likely going to look like, how we can help it, how we can support you. And you get to decide how your end of life journey looks. What do you want to be doing? Who do you want there? You know, how can we best support you so you don't have pain and pain or shortness of breath during it, whatever it is that they've been experiencing.
Yeah.
And I think that helps kind of like, I don't know, reshape it, because it is a journey.
Yeah.
We are going to all have one.
Are you afraid to die?
I would say, I always say no. I'm not afraid to die. But generally speaking, if I got diagnosed with something tomorrow that was terminal.
There's just not wanting to, but being afraid.
Yeah. Like I would have like I would have a human experience. I would have all of the emotions. I would have fear. I would have anger. I would have sadness. I would have acceptance. I think it would just kind of wax and wane. But generally speaking, I am not afraid to die.
Yeah. And do you get to talk to people when they know they're going to die? Have you been able to glean any of like what they regret? What do they not regret? Any of that stuff?
Yes. So generally speaking, they usually don't like have like, let me sit down with you and tell you what I regret, right? But you hear it as
around.
Like, around. And the main thing I hear, which I'm writing a second book about this, P.S.
Okay, great.
2027. Nothing to regret. It's actually going to be called.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
fantastic.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I think I am.
Yeah.
The main thing I hear is I wish I would have appreciated like my health and my body while I had it. It's really easy to like taste a cheeseburger and be like, oh, this is so good. But like forget that like it might not always be easy to like eat a cheeseburger or like have an appetite or like have things taste good or like coffee to drink and it doesn't hurt your stomach, or the fact that we can get up and like walk around our neighborhood. Those things go away slowly at the end of life if you're dying like a natural death. So the main thing I hear is like, I wish I would have appreciated my health while I had it. Yeah. Because, and I really take that to heart. I was doing another podcast with a doctor who was like, yeah, I know, we all get that, but like, do we really understand? And I was like, I really do. I really do. I have taken that to heart. Like every morning when I can taste my coffee, I'm like, ooh, I'm so lucky I can taste this coffee. I love that I can like wash my face, that I can get up, that I can move. Yeah. I really do feel that. And it changes your life. It changes your life.
Well, yeah, I would imagine in the way that if we all just, it's not something that we even want to talk about is death. Yeah. Then when it arrives, it's a surprise and it's scary. But also, I think that thinking about death often, I was forced into thinking about death at 25 when my mom passed away, and that has had a real profound effect on me and my relationships and the things that I spend my time on. And there's like, what is the thing is Tim McGraw, Live Like You're Dying? Mm-hmm. Like that. What I'm getting at is, if we all just put it out of our brain, there's a lot of things we lose. Not just a really sweet, beautiful moment at the end. Yeah. But day to day. Yes. You're supposed to die. Yes. That's the saddest, weirdest thing, and maybe a really beautiful thing to say.
Andy,
to start the day.
Do you understand?
You're supposed to die. It's part of this whole experience.
Yeah.
And that it can make your whole life a lot sweeter.
I always say I think we should all contemplate our own mortality on a daily basis. And not in a morbid way.
Not in a morbid way.
It truly makes me have a beautiful life. It's a whole nother podcast. I'm also sober. I live a day at a time,
sure.
yada, yada.
Yeah.
But that I combine like my sober knowledge and like how I live my life with like this death and dying thing, because there's something about like, and it all kind of comes down to living in the present moment and really understanding that I'm going to die someday, and how can I be here now and like fully appreciate like the air in my lungs. And it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple.
I'm in. I'm vibing. Yes, I like it. Yes.
It's like I'm so grateful.
I think because I don't know that a lot of us actually believe it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think we think we're gonna die.
Yeah, I know.
Which is stupid.
Yeah.
But the average, I can't speak for the average person. Me, I have a mom that's passed away. I know that I will someday die. And I don't think I think that way very often. Even just like, I'm going to enjoy a cheeseburger tonight. I'm going to really enjoy it, sincerely. So on the off chance or the good chance, because we're all going to die, that someone either is dying or is in relationship with someone who's dying, do you have any tips for how they can show up for them? Any hiccups that consistently happen, or outside of the big, just like, or is it really just like, just talk about it?
I think it depends on like your relationship to them, but generally speaking, I always tell people to, if you're really in it, right, you're the one like caring for them, you're there all the time. It's like, is your loved one who is dying, are they clean? Are they safe? Are they comfortable? Those 3 questions.
Okay.
Are they clean? Are they safe? Are they comfortable? Because a lot of times what happens is we go into this do mode. I need to do. Am I doing enough? Have I done this? It's hard not to doubt yourself. It's hard not to go, is this really the right choice? Should we take him to the hospital? I don't know. They're not eating enough. He's sleeping all day. This constant, incessant
It feels like
thinking.
there's a timer.
Yes. So I say, are they clean? Are they safe? Are they comfortable? If you can say yes to those 3 things, take a breath. Take a breath and like be there because you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. People really want to know when, especially when like you're losing so much control. So like you want the control. When's this going to happen? How am I going to know? And you're not. It's a big gray area most of the time. Area. And it's like, just know that you're on this. You're in it. You're in the space of time where it's like, it could be 2 days, it could be 2 months. Either way, you're not going to regret it 5 years from now.
No.
If you are sitting by their side these next couple months best you can, or just being there with them. You're not going to regret the singing at the bedside or playing the weird games or drawing the panda and having laughs. So it's like, take each day as you can, 24 hours at a time, and ask for help. Sorry, I just gave like tons of advice.
Keep going.
There.
I'm very interested. What do you mean? Ask for help from who?
Ask for help. This is an all hands on deck kind of thing. You cannot take care of someone or be with someone alone on your own. Like, you have to ask for help. You have to have other people there for you. You have to take breaks.
I feel like we're bad at that. I'm bad at that.
I'm bad at that.
I don't like doing that.
No, we are I feel like if Americans are listening to this, I feel like we live in a society that's like individualistic to its core. Just like everyone, like, you got to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And
which stops community consistently.
Community. And we need community. We need connection. I think everyone does, whether you're dying or not. I think that's one thing we're really, really, really lacking, especially at the end of life. If you're on home hospice, meaning your loved ones are caring for you at home, you need help. You need to ask your family members. You need to ask neighbors. You need to ask people at your church. If you go to church, people are going to say to you, how can I help you? And it's really annoying because it's like very vague and you don't know what to say. You say, can you bring me coffee in the morning? Can you come here on Tuesday and sit here for a couple hours so I can go for a walk? Like, can you go to the post office
That's such
for
a
me?
tension point. Why are we why is it so difficult? I think the person that's saying it maybe doesn't always mean it, but then if you ask them, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, like, I'm in, I guess. Let's ride. Exactly. And then at the end of all that, whatever the minor tension is just like deep beauty, community. Now you're a part of this incredible moment that happened.
Yes, we really resist.
Why is it so hard?
That. Don't we? We resist community. I think.
One of the main reasons that I thought of doing this as the podcast is like trying to tease out, like, why is it so hard to show up for each other?
I know.
It's hard.
It's scary.
Is it just as scary?
I think it's scary. It's vulnerable. It's like getting past that, like, your normal habitual thing of like, no, I just want to stay home and watch Love is Blind.
Yeah.
I love Love is Blind.
I don't, listen, I get it. Does
anyone else listening to this? But yeah, like, versus like coming over and watching your friend's husband who's sick. Like, that's scary, That is
scary.
But you do it once. I mean, being of service is like way more for the person doing the service. Like,
doing it.
It's so life-giving when you're of service.
But there's usually tension.
Yeah, usually tension, and it's usually really hard to do. It's like going to the gym.
There's like an awkward thing that occurs when you have to push through.
Yeah, you have to push through.
And so if you're listening to this,
yes.
I've tried to start seeing life, and I'm terrible at it like everybody else, but you start seeing spots where like, oh, if you show up here, it counts more than maybe other places. And so usually if someone has a baby, gets divorced, has someone in their life that passed away, you start to see the big stuff and you go like, whatever is happening in my life that I think is so important, these moments, if I'm able to actually show up in a meaningful way and let them know that I care and that I'm like here for them. For sure for them, it's sweet, but I will have more dignity about myself. And these are these moments for like community where you can start to see the world as like, I don't know, little moments that pop up and you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do around that, but I need to make sure that when all is said and done and they think of this moment in their life, that I had a positive impact on their moment.
I feel like you build self-esteem by esteemable acts.
100%.
Right? So like if you don't know what to do for someone and you're wondering, send them groceries. You don't know what to get them, whatever you think sounds good. Like just do it. Just do the thing. You know, send them groceries, show up with coffee, and you even just give them it and then like go, okay, bye. You know, because you don't know what, maybe they actually don't want someone, who knows, but just try.
I remember when my mom passed, someone that I wasn't super close friends with was just like, you seem like you're in a tough spot. Do you want to go snowboarding? And we went on like a super awkward 2-day snowboarding trip. And that dude showed up for me in a way that maybe other people didn't. Yeah. And he will go down in the annals of my history as like, that's a good dude. I like really appreciate him.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
I'm trying to think. I have not lost someone like on hospice, oddly enough, like that I was close with, but I've had many tragic like best friends die when I was young. Oh, really? Like that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to think of
how people showed up for you.
Yeah. I don't want to be like they didn't.
No.
I think we were all like we were so young. We were like 17 and all of us were just like, we don't know what we're doing.
I did a one-man show last year, and one of the things that I did, it was around grief. And so can I do a little thing with you?
Yeah.
Think of someone that you deeply love that has passed away.
That has passed away? Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got it.
And so in the one-man show, I would talk about how I read a story about something called a wind phone in Japan. And someone lost their cousin and missed them so bad that they put a telephone in their garden. And every day they would go out and pick up the phone and have a one-sided conversation with the person that was passed. And so when people came into the theater, on every seat was a questionnaire, and one of the questions was write down the name of someone who's passed. And then I walked on stage with like a case of all these things. And at the end of the show, I would read out names, and there'd be telephones all throughout the audience, and people would go up and pick up a telephone. And I would say to them, which I'm going to say to you right now, is like, just finish. Well, first of all, who is it?
My friend Shauna.
Shauna. Mm-hmm. And she was young, or She was
young, yeah. We were 17.
You were 17? Mm-hmm.
She was 17 too, yeah.
Sweet. And you were living here or in Erie?
I was in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so now finish the statement for me to Shauna. Okay.
For me to Shauna? Okay,
to Shauna. Okay. I hope you're proud of me for
talking about you.
Yes. I want to thank you for
being my best friend when it was probably hard because we were teenagers. And accepting me and loving me even though I ruined your trip to Florida. Very specific.
How did you ruin your trip?
Because she took me. I was like the friend she took to Florida. And then when we got there, I was like, I can't be here. I'm too homesick. And I left.
She's in heaven. I'm sure she's forgiven you for that, hopefully. Or maybe she's out there like, yeah, that was fucked up.
I know.
One thing I admired about you was
how funny you were.
And then I feel your presence most when
with your parents.
Oh, you still hang with your parents,
even though it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard being with their parents because I don't want to be with her. I want to be with her.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like a really big reminder. Her mom, she looks just like her mom, and her mom. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah. So it's kind of I love doing it, but it's also like, ooh, this is not you.
Yes. So like I said before, that some people might not be dying, even though we're all going to, but they might not at this moment.
Yeah.
Or have anybody in their family that is currently passing away. What would you like to tell them?
Yeah, no, it's I love that we laugh about it, right? Because it can be funny. It doesn't have to always be so serious.
Yeah.
I think people knowing that they may meet resistance when they do bring it up, right? When they do talk about end of life, people always are going to go, oh, whoa, why are we doing this? What are you doing? And I think just knowing that might happen, I still think it's important. I always think you could say, hey, I listened to a great podcast today. It was about death and dying. Or, hey, I saw this girl on the internet. She's talking about death and dying. And it got me thinking, you know, that's one way to bring it up. So you're not just bluntly bringing up, hey, I want to talk to you about this, right? Why? It came up because I saw this video, I listened to this podcast, and always keep it focused on you. So maybe not like their end of life. What do they want, right? Because they're like, oh, you know, start with what you want. Hey, listen, I need you to know this because it would kill me. No pun intended, pun intended. No, you know, if you had to make these decisions, I want you to know what I want. Like if this were to happen to me, I want you to know that this is what I want, whatever it may be. I don't want to be kept alive, or I do, you know, and that makes you actually, you have to think about that. You know, what do you actually want? But it is a caring and loving thing for your family and loved ones to know what you'd want, because otherwise they have to try to decide. Yeah. And they have that weight to carry. Yeah. But it's still going to be hard sometimes, especially depending on how you grew up and who you grew up with. You might meet resistance. You can't force people.
Can't force. I want to say what you've done. I read some of your workbook, and what a brave, deep, beautiful thing. Yeah. And you hear stories of people that have gone through it. Explain it to everybody first.
So the book came out first, and thanks to my followers, you know, it did well, which allowed me to have a workbook. And I've journaled since I've been a little girl. I have like, journal after journal after journal. And to me, like, that's how I talk to my higher power, is I write in a journal. So I wanted to develop something like that with my book. So I have my book, and then in my book, I kind of ask questions and tell you, you know, talk about end of life and things you can do. And then the workbook is kind of like putting it into action.
Really helpful, I think.
Yeah, I'm just so proud of it. Out of all the things I've done, I'm like, ooh, yeah, I can really feel this one
And it actually gives people. I like skimmed through it and looked and be like, whoa, when someone is dealing with the fact that they may be dying, to have a kind of an ordered, structured way to go about processing that.
Yeah, things to ask yourself, things to think about. What do you want to say? Who do you want to talk to? Who do you want there? Ways to plan your death if you want to. Plan your funeral if you want. You know, there's like practical things in it, and then there's also existential, like connecting to something deeper within you.
Okay, so what the hell? Why did you do this? Well, like what was there a origin story
of like me being on the internet?
Of you running headfirst into this field. It's like a really unique field to then be helping in such a way that so many people around the world now have a workbook to help them get through one of the most beautiful, sad, interesting, difficult times in life.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like super serendipitous. Like everything in my life, where I am in my life right now, like I cannot believe, like the fact that I'm even here talking to you is like, my mind is blown. Because, so I started out as an ICU nurse. I was young. It was my second degree. I was doing it because like my friend was doing it. There was like no thought behind it. I was in my early 20s.
Interesting.
I didn't know what I was doing. And then I loved it. I loved being a nurse. And when I was an ICU nurse, after a couple of years, I was the typical like burnt out, I hate nursing. This is the wrong thing. What am I doing? Which led me to, I got to do something else. But I'm going to stick with nursing, but just not ICU nursing, which I leapt into hospice nursing. Didn't really know, but I was thinking maybe I would like it because it's the opposite of the ICU. And thankfully I was right. And I threw myself into that work and I loved it. And then I loved it so much over the years that I had a couple close friends whose parents were dying. I started rattling off stuff to them about like what they should know, what they should do. And then they were like, what the hell? How do you know all this stuff? Like, you're my best friend. How do I not know that you like know this? You know, this is incredible. You need to tell people about this. You need to talk about this more. And at the time it was COVID, and it was like things were just starting to open up. So it was like 21, almost 22. Mm-hmm. And I went home to see my nieces who were on TikTok. Okay. Because they are tweens. Yep. And I was on TikTok to like watch their dances and do the different funny things with them, which led me to being like, whoa, TikTok's kind of cool. Like there's like cool video. There's people my age like talking about space and gardening and like cooking. I don't know. So I was like, I'm gonna do TikTok. I'm gonna like make some TikToks. And literally 4 videos in, I mean, no preparation, no thought, I went viral, and I had like 10,000 followers overnight, 100,000 in a month, 1 million in a year. People started writing articles about me. My Instagram took off. My YouTube channel took off. I got a book deal.
So we want it.
It just like happened. Yes.
For all this talking that you and me have been doing around, we don't.
Yeah.
We do.
Yes, and I think there really is something to do with like the screen. Like, because I go to dinner parties and people don't want it. People don't want to talk to me about death and dying.
Interesting.
But they seem to want to watch a video about death and dying.
It's very
Do you know
personal.
what I mean? So,
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I have literally, now it's been 5 years since I started Hospice Nurse Julie and writing the book, and now a second book. And I am really, again, just taking it a day at a time and kind of being like, hey, I don't know what's going on here.
Was there resistance from yourself or from inside, or worried about like reputation when you started speaking up about this? Or has it all just kind of been like just taking one step and like being enamored the whole time?
It has been like taking one step and being enamored the whole time. Isn't that crazy? Talk about like, people talk about being in the flow. I'm like, this is what people are talking about.
Whoa.
Like, I cannot make this, I could not have made this happen. There was not one part of me that was like, and even when people try to, because now I'm like fancy and have like a manager, and which is insane.
Yeah.
But like people who try to make me take it serious, right? It's like, well, what's your brand? What's that? I'm like, no, I can't.
Yes.
There is no brand.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. All I can do is like speak from the heart and share what I think is important. And I'm just going to keep doing that.
Keep doing that.
And here we are.
I have no, this isn't like a part of religion or anything. I just like it as like an exercise. It makes my heart happy.
Yeah.
I like to think that maybe there's a place before here like there is where we're going. And that you get told what you get to choose, like, is this what you want to do? And the idea that in this weird little story version of what I'm thinking of you is that you got your, like, maybe I got like what my purpose was on a pad like this, and it was like, you're supposed to go sing and make people happy. I'm like, sick, sounds great. And yours was like, you're supposed to go help people die. Yeah. And you were like, awesome. So yeah. Thank you for being enamored and taking every step. And I just think you're really sincere and to the point and like not manipulative at all. There's something about you that allows people to hear what you're saying. So it's a gift you have.
Yeah,
so thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening. My way of showing up each episode is by writing a bespoke song for someone in this community. You have all been sending me incredible voicemails, and I have been weeping ever since this started. So here's this week's song.
Hey, Andy. We are calling to lift up my friend Jenny. She just recently lost her stepdad, Ricky. He has been like a dad to her and to me, and we love this family. Rick was her stepdad, and he passed away recently, and it really hit the family very hard. He was just an amazing person. So if you could lift up my friend Jennifer and her dad, it would mean the world to her and to me. Thank you. Bye.
All right, Jenny, you sound incredible. It's hard to lose someone. I've been there. I wrote this for you. Jenny and Rick, they were connected by blood that is thicker than real blood. Some family trees operate outside of biology. It's just real love. And with love like that, with love like that, there are no goodbyes. And with love like that, with love like that, there's no space, no time. So from the other side, Rick is still saying hi. He's watching Jenny's every move. Yeah, from the other side, Rick is still smiling wide. So proud of who she's turned into. Jenny and Rick, they were connected by blood that is thicker than real blood. Their love is big, so much bigger than this one little life could ever hold, could ever hold, could ever hold.
Thank you so much for showing up for us. If you want to be a part of the community we're building here and you want to support the show, please go follow me, AndyGrammer on YouTube, and Showing Up with Andy on socials. I've invited all of you to leave a voicemail nominating someone who's shown up for you, shown up for their community, or just needs a little pick-me-up, and I will select a voicemail and write a song for every single episode. To leave a voicemail, call 917-540-0849. Thank you so much. I love you all so, so much. Keep showing up.